Hello again and welcome to Orange Grove Fairgrounds. Today I am working on a Zyklon style steel coaster. This coaster will be available to you at the beginning of the map. The idea of the map so far is that you get a Zyklon style steel coaster and a little bit of carnival rides in this area and maybe some carnival games to build from or build off of. So I was given this idea by a viewer and a friend on the Parkitect Discord, and I didn't know what a Zyklon compact steel coaster was, and so I had to go research this up on the Coasterpedia. So a Zyklon is basically a compact coaster that is easily deconstructed and transported to said fair or to a carnival of some sort. So it does fit the scenario that I'm planning on, so I decided to try my hand at it. So as you can see here, I wanted to get rid of all the supports so that I can do custom supports later on, so I decided to put down paths. Paths are pretty good at deleting and getting rid of supports. So this coaster had a couple different layouts here and there, and I took about maybe an hour changing up the layout here and there, but eventually I did like it. This video is going to consist of me putting down so many custom supports. I never thought I would be making a video on custom supports like Silverette, and this is just one of these videos. So I'll try to explain how you get to that. How do I get to those supports and stuff like that, and other things like that. Also, what I've learned from Coasterpedia is Zyklon is from an Italian company, which I did not know, called Pinfari, if I pronounced that right. Apparently they made the style of these type of coasters of transport, and apparently there is two different types: a regular Zyklon, which has no loop, and then there's a looping Zyklon. So I decided to go with a looping one because I think I needed a loop of some sort to give it some interesting thrills. This coaster doesn't have the best thrills, but it's good enough to start in the park. So I just continue to do some support killing and stuff like that. The other plans for this map was going to be a buildable wooden coaster, or a wooden coaster that was half built. So at this point on, I have scrapped that idea because I think that the Zyklon steel coaster here kind of basically fills that need, and so I'm just going to leave this as is. So right now I've finished the coaster and deciding on color schemes, kind of playing around with different colors. Purple was kind of like this for a while, and I decided to make it more probably red later on. And then we'll get onto the support building, which was the most tedious work I've ever done in a scenario. This scenario should be coming out in the next week or so, depending on the upload time of the upload date of this video. So it should be coming out quite soon, and I will be you can call it beta testing this map soon. So on to building some of the queue, figuring out where things go. The streets that I made with the stone texture, I decided to fill in with an actual street. I've changed some things here and there for this map. The map does evolve a lot to the point where I do change some of the actual ways of going, and sometimes that's okay. You can change ideas all the time. It's totally fine. I do it all the time. Sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's not. So in this area near the Zyklon coaster, I want to do make some carnival booths, maybe like a kids zone sign. Probably going to do that in another video. I also have been working on, this is for a future video, I've been working on a train station that's outside of town. You'll probably see that in another video coming up soon. I've also been trying to work on maybe some of the other orchards or farms around the area. I'm trying not to build too much into this map that some of the mechanics of this game are kind of null and void. Like, for example, it would be the scenery rating button, or the scenery rating challenge that always gets null and void because I put too much scenery in. Then you get that goal quite quickly. So I try not to do so much of that. Here right now, we're going to try to put down a whole bunch of concrete footers to see where I'm going to put supports, and then that's going to change in like 2 seconds here. I kind of was overwhelming myself with all the concrete supports, so I changed the name of this coaster a couple times, so I think the final name for this coaster is called Looping Star, so very, very generic name, as usual. Generic names are okay. So on to doing some lights detailing. So if you saw that quickly, I changed the Anarchy's elevation to 0.01, and that got me closer to angles on the angle of the roof to get the lights to where I want them. So that's a trick you could do if you want to change it back and forth, but I keep it at 0.05 as normally, because it's easier to work with. But if you want to get like actually precise with angles, you go for a 0.01 elevation. So here I'm going to try some support ideas, and I've realized that I had to switch it back, and that's what I do. You can switch back and forth with it. Anarchy's just built for that precision, and it's quite nice for it actually. So on to making a somewhat support system, and we're going to go see how this is going to look. I made this video about, I think, a week ago, so I'm trying to remember the process I was trying to go for. But just a lot of experimentation and just ideas where supports would realistically go and stuff like that. Also try to keep grid based a little bit because the coaster is grid based though, even though I have Anarchy on. Going grid based does help with making everything connect together and form together. So, because Anarchy can get overwhelming with the ability to place anything anywhere you want, and sometimes that's bad. So I paused the coaster to get an idea of height where I can put my catwalk. Then I found that I liked it where it is, and I'm going to keep it where it sits for now, and then that's going to continue up the lift later. So I do like how the first section of supports look good so far. Looking like it's all together. Now the red supports against the red track I will change later on because it doesn't look good at all. You should always think about contrast of colors, and doing too much of one color can oversaturate a scene, and that does happen if you're not paying attention sometimes. And I've been guilty of doing this to some of my builds and stuff like that. So on to build some of the supports for the chain lift. I don't know any Zyklons in the area of where I live. I don't think there is any, but I know that some theme parks have made permanent attractions with these models. But I like the idea of having a coaster that looks like it could be taken apart. It's built with a whole bunch of supports, not like regular supports. So like just stick supports, all put down and probably even like bolted to the floor with sandbags or something, or some type of concrete footer, and then those are probably then connected to each other by poles and pillars to each stick support. So it makes the coaster look kind of rickety, but also makes it quite interesting because a steel coaster that looks like this kind of looks like a wooden coaster kind of, but you know it's not, it's steel. That's how the effect for California Screamer kind of looks like that too. They made the entire coaster look like a wooden, even though it's not an LM launched steel coaster with a loop, and they kind of pulled that off quite well. I might do this type of custom support for a steel type of coaster maybe later on in a video or in another park of mine. Some future projects we can talk about a little bit as we watch me continue to build more supports. I was brought to my attention that there's a local group of people on the Parkitect Discord that want to make parks, or make a chain of parks that are based off like Six Flags or something, to my knowledge. I think it's Six Flags. And I do find that quite interesting. Yeah, the group that formed was called Happy Co Parks, and so someone wants to make parks based off of Six Flags but have a tie-in to Parkitect's lore, which is Happy Co. So I've decided to put my hat in the ring and see if I can build some type of realistic / made up park that would resemble like an amusement park. So I'm going to probably get to work on that sometime in the next month or so. So we're going to call it, which I think is fitting, Astroworld, which is based off of the Astroworld Six Flags in Houston. And I think that's going to turn out actually pretty well, I hope. I've been looking at some different pictures of Astroworld and how it was built around, and how it had so many different little things. And I quite like how it looks so far. So that's one project I'm going to work on. Another project probably would be the 11th scenario to my campaign list, would be probably an asteroid field of some sort, or an asteroid mining colony. I wanted to go back to doing some sci-fi stuff, kind of match the Delta 5 map that I made first when I started jumping into the scenario bid. Oh, and also to keep to just bring up what's in the video, I deleted the helix so that I can put down supports to see where they would go, and then later put down supports to kind of fit the helix properly. So that's what you see here I'm trying to do, is figure out where support should go and then how they would spread out over, let's say, a helix to then bear that weight. So that's just a little bit of a tangent I just need to explain. But back to some future projects. So future project would be Astroworld, and then I want to do some asteroid field mining map, and then maybe the third one would be probably the 12th scenario, if I'm going to continue this, would be a Happy Co inspired like boardwalk or bottle factory, like from Nuka World or from Fallout 4. So those ideas have been in my backlog even longer than, let's say, Orange Grove Fairgrounds. So I might get to those. It depends on how much time I have free right now. I've been sick a couple weeks. No, not a couple weeks. I've been sick like a week, so doing recordings is kind of hard. But I'm trying to get back into things to make more content for you guys. It's kind of the point. I do enjoy making some of these, and well, my collection of stuff will continue. The video before this was the June challenge build video I did. I'm probably going to do that once a month if Parkitect continues to do challenges, and I think that would be fine. I'm going to continue doing those. If you guys have any suggestions for video ideas, I wouldn't mind if you guys put something in the comments section below, so that I can make more content, or if you want to know more stuff about how I get to a situation of how I built something, or how I pick a layout for a coaster, because this would be the first video. No, it's not the first video. This would be basically the second video showing how I would build a coaster. I build a lot of coasters on my free time when I play like on by myself, and kind of just like goofing off to kind of get my juices flowing again. But yeah, as we continue watching me build supports, this is just more tedious grunt work, but I think it turns out quite well as it forms itself. You'll see a cut in the video that I change it all from red supports to white supports, and you'll see how that is actually an improvement to how the ride looks, but we'll get there in a little bit. So let me think here. We talked about my future projects and a little bit of the Zyklon coaster. Trying to think of what else is going on this map. I can also talk a little bit about the goals. So some of the goals might be more guest number related, profits number related, and maybe an experience rating related. Also wanted to do a coaster related thing. I think I want to force you to build 2 or 3 coasters, but with this coaster already in place, that kind of already completes that goal. Technically speaking, that does complete the goal. So I could bump it up to 3 coasters to complete. We'll see. Things change as I evolve a map. Nothing's actually permanently planned. I mean, I've tried to plan a map from like write down on a paper to see what I want or see what the idea is, and then go and then try to follow that rule. That doesn't always necessarily work. Working ethic for this type of game, a creative game in general, is different per person. So I encourage you guys to try different things out. If you need to try how to make something or work on something, then if you are overwhelmed with something, it's always okay to stop. I'm always going to preface this that it's okay to stop and play another game or go take a walk and get other ideas elsewhere. So off to making the catwalk finally up to the chain lift, and this is where blueprints really come in handy. Copy it, all that stuff, and then duplicate it a whole bunch of times. I'm going to use more of these hanger pieces more often because they're more skinnier and tinier than the actual borders, and they're actually more useful. I wish there was an option to change the color of the cables, but I wanted to use the cables for the railings going up the chain lift, so they're going to be a different color, unfortunately. So they'll be as what they are. But I wish they were a colorable object, but maybe in a future update that will happen. If you guys want me to do like tutorial videos on how to make a building over a shop, or make props of vehicles, because in this map I'm going to make a couple more vehicles probably. I'm planning to do some military vehicles, in this map to simulate that this is a old base or something. Here comes the transition to white supports, and at this point I had to recolor everything by hand. I didn't want you guys seeing that. That's just great work that you don't need to see. So yeah, that's what I did. So on to completing more of the wonderful support game that I have put myself into. I think this took about an hour and 40, maybe 2 hours to do all this stuff. I don't know if I'll be doing this again anytime soon, but doing stuff like this extra work does pay off. So don't be afraid of doing such big work like this. It can be overwhelming, and that's why you take a break, or you step back and breathe for a second. But this was, I think, was worth the extra work of deleting the supports and putting in custom supports. So I might make this a separate blueprint if you guys want it to place in your park. So if you want that, just put a yes or a yes in the comments, and then I will gladly put that together. So also on this map I need to finish, I'm going to try to give myself a list to listen to later. I need to finish covering up the depot off on the far side of the map so that it matches maybe the bunkers. I'm going to build a carnival section that's already been set up. So the story of this park is that the Orange Grove Fairgrounds is about to open the fairgrounds, and the person they hired bailed and left maybe like some equipment. So they left the Zyklon coaster, they left maybe a carousel, maybe another a thrill ride of some sort, and then a whole bunch of booths and games, and you're given the opportunity to now, you've been hired to now finish the job and make the rest of the fairgrounds ready to open or to operate. So I might make some of the goals money operated, or maybe a ride operation fee or profits or something like that to make you work on finishing the park. It's kind of the same thing like my other scenarios, like unfair abusement is the same idea. So it's kind of hard with the scenario editor right now, is that there's not enough goals yet, but maybe there'll be goals added to this game later, but we do still have a lot of goals to play with. I do appreciate that we have this stuff. I've been trying to think of other ways of game mechanics of how to change how the game runs to kind of force the player to do something versus just make a nice park, and I've noticed that that's how it is. I've been reading some comments in like the Discord about how some people like some of the scenarios from the original campaign, and how they didn't like it, and that somewhat I've been basing off of how I'm going to build my scenarios. Maybe going forward, I honestly don't know. There's so many different things you can do, but yeah, I just try to make it as friendly as possible with these scenarios. I've only made 9 up to this point. This is number 10. So I finished my personal goal of 10. Not yet. I haven't finished yet. Excuse me. We need to finish this map first, and then I will get to 10. But I will get there, because I'm starting to get back on to working on it again. I don't want to like leave it in my backlog again, because I have other saved parks on my computer of other maps that I want to work on, like I explained the other future projects that I want to work on are probably, I have them set, but they're not like nothing else goes on. I just let them sit. So I'm trying to get some work ethic going on this game again, but I do like how this coaster in particular has turned out. So as I continue to make some type of giant supports for the loop, one pet peeve of mine in this game is that the loops in these games don't come with supports, period. So if you want to make them more realistic, you kind of have to either get a support mod off the workshop or create supports from the original assets, and I like using original assets. Now, I did come across some mods this upcoming month, because this video is going to come out after we had a Parkitect update recently, and there's flat ride support, and I did download a couple of the flat rides, and I do like how these flat rides look, and they're unique, and I might be using these in my Astro World theme park. We'll see. That would be the only other mod I will be using, but everything else should still be basic assets, because I think that's the challenge of having basic assets, is to try to create different things from it. So I will do that, but the flat rides, I think the flat rides are cool. So we'll see more flat rides as they get made, because we have a pretty robust modding community here in Parkitect, and it is quite impressive. So as we get to the 22-minute mark here, I'm going to continue working on supports and figuring out some of the angles here, because doing the turns was the most difficult thing ever. Doing straights is easy grunt work. You just copy the same pillar at different heights, and so trying to figure out how to do this realistically, or trying to think of how weight bearing would this pillar hold. Yeah, I mean, good thing that it doesn't realistically support these. This is all just props, but I wanted to make sure that it was realistic to some point. I might be changing the queue maybe off screen, or maybe adding some detailings of maybe a tent or something, or maybe I should do a sign where the entrance is of the queue line that says looping star. Maybe I should do that, maybe off site, or I can make a small little video included to the next video that I'm going to be working on. I've already worked a little bit on the map continuously, so I'm kind of talking about the future a little bit, but that's okay. Making videos is kind of still weird for me. I don't know what to work on and what to record. I'm trying to get in the habit of recording almost everything that I do in Parkitect, almost everything, because sometimes I like to just launch the game and goof off it, or go to an original campaign and just build in there, like do a scenery run, and don't really worry about goals, but still have money as a challenge, because I've done that with a couple of the maps. If you guys want a tour of some of my scenery maps of the original campaign, just give a holler in the comments section, and maybe I'll do a video on that as an idea. But yeah, there's just lots you can do with this game, and I've loved this game ever since it came out in early access on Steam. So big fan of Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, not so much. And then Frontier decided to make their own game, Planet Coaster. And I'm okay with Planet Coaster to a point. It's a little rough on my computer, but that's okay because that game's just graphically impressive. But just building a restroom takes maybe too long. But that's why I like the grid-based stuff better. I just think that there's just more concrete or more boundaries to building, and I like the boundary part of it. So that's probably why I like Parkitect more than Planet Coaster. Don't get me wrong, Planet Coaster is a good game. It's just it fills a different niche for me than Parkitect. So that's my short little explanation of simulation games. Should I just tell the history? Yeah, actually we could a little bit tell the history of how I got into some creative games. So it's kind of a sad, it's not sad, maybe it is, but I got the first ever simulation game that I ever played was actually Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. And I was able apparently to convince my dad to install it on his work computer. And so I have fond memories of building in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 for like at least a year in that game first. Never knew there was another one before. I mean, it was called Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, so I had an idea there was something before it. So that was like when I was like 7. And then when I got to junior high, I had to do like after school, after school daycare is called usually. And on their computers they had Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, and that was the first time I've ever seen that. So I was like, wow, what this is Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. So I played all of Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 in junior high. So I was like, wow, this is very interesting. I never knew there was an O1. And that got me hooked, so I've been playing those games for a while. And then Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 came out. I got all the expansions for that, all on CD, by the way. This is all before Steam was like a big thing. That's before I even got my own laptop. No, I had a laptop then, a very old, dinky little laptop. And then after that, I built my first computer at least 3 years ago at this point right now. Oh, as I ramble, here's a live POV of the ride. We're just gonna watch the ride do one circuit. But back to what I was explaining, I finally got my computer, built my own computer, then I got Steam, and I decided to rebuy all of Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, 2, and 3. So I have a full collection of simulation games now on the computer, and I'm just a big fan of those games in general. So that was the short history of me experiencing these games from the beginning. So yeah, well, I'm going to let you guys go, and in the next video I'm probably going to be working on the train station outside the park, a train, some passenger cars, and then we're wrapping up this map. This map is almost close, and maybe in the next video a little bit of the carnival area that I should work on. So I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.